in Chibi. Yes.
Hey guys, welcome back to another speed build. This time, as you may have guessed, we are doing Elphaba and Glinda's dorm room from Wicked. Oz is very easily one of my favorite fantasy worlds on this earth, and of course the new trailer just came out, and we have some promotional stills that came out with Cynthia, Erivo, and Ariana Grande playing the two title roles. So here we are building their dorm room at Shiz University. This actually started out with a their little bed nooks by the Sim Scrolls, who is a creator here on YouTube, and she creates the most amazing things. And I tried to copy her process for creating those little window nooks that you see with like the window seats in them, and it was not working. And then lo and behold, I was very lucky in that she was very gracious in uploading those window nooks as rooms to the gallery. So if you get the chance, go check out the Sim Scrolls on the gallery as well as here on YouTube. She makes a lot of fantasy builds, and they are truly amazing. I cannot wrap my head around what she does. But anyway, back to the build. So here we are. I did a lot of playing around with platforms in this. And this is inspired by, I don't want to put it in the video itself because I don't want to get copyright striked, but there's a video, and by video I mean a picture, of Elphaba and Glinda sitting in their dorm room, and also we get a view of it in the trailer that just came out this past Wednesday, I believe it was. Maybe it was Tuesday. But as you can see, we're starting out, and I gave each of the girls a little sitting room area, which I actually ended up cluttering both of them with you know, items that I felt represented their personality and what they were doing. So it doesn't actually end up being usable, the window nook, but it is beautiful. So they are each included regardless, and they each have a little desk nook that are the other sort of little internal bump out that I have here in this sort of tower shaped room. And you can see they each have like their own custom, not custom, but you know, wallpaper that represents their personality and their like main colors. And so you can see I'm kind of playing around here with the floor tiles because I wanted it to be like this sort of magical old timey academia sort of look to it. And it took a little bit, especially with those nooks, because I was not smart enough to get the game to consider it a room, and I had to try to make sure that the lighting was good. And it took a little bit, as you can see, but I did finally get all of the levels to eventually work, and I put in some stairs leading up to the little desk nooks that you can see I'm working on now. And of course I had to do some stuff with the tool mod to cover up that platform. If anyone's super familiar with the building in The Sims, let me know if it actually is possible or not to paint the walls of platforms. I thought that you could, but I couldn't get it to work, so I ended up having to creatively hide it with like fence posts turned sideways. And it took a little bit, but anyway, here you can see I finally got the lighting to work, and they each get their own little drop down hanging plant light, which is from the Blooming Rooms kit, which I think still right now, if you guys go to the EA app, that kit is currently free. So, you know, take advantage while you can. But here we go. We're finally started getting a little bit of personality into the room. I've got the stairs leading up to the window nooks here. And here you can see where I am trying desperately to cover up this one little step that I made with the platform tool. And of course, since it's on a diagonal, I can't just put stairs. So you can see I had to do a lot of moving around with the fence pieces to finally get it to work and be covered. And it took a lot of clicking, a lot of alt placing, and a couple of views of some tool mod tutorial videos, because it's still moderately new to me. Maybe eventually I'll be able to do all the crazy things that I've seen people do with it. But for now, this was a good use of it. I got to make my sort of custom little stairway leading up into this dorm room. This little front entryway has like a stained glass entry from Realm of Magic, which I felt like sort of fit the vibes. And I tried not to delve too much into watching the current movie trailer, as far as trying to copy things exactly. As far as like the arrangement of like Elphaba's bed, that's pretty close to one of the promo images that we got, but everything else was kind of just my imagination based on what I know from reading the book. Who knows how long ago it was, a while, and of course what I remember from the musical, probably the musical that inspired me to become, a member of the arts or an artist in general. I was convinced that I was going to be in Wicked one day. It could still happen. You never know. But it's definitely one of my favorite shows. Here you can see I'm finally putting in some furniture. I kind of toyed with like Elphaba's bed being in the nook, which is how the room that the Sim Scrolls created is. It's a bed nook, but I replaced it with like these ottoman window seats. And you can see Glinda gets a double bed because I feel like she was selfish and got the double bed and took up most of the room, whereas Elphaba has a single bed. And it was kind of fun to decorate this room because I got to try to see like just how many pink trunk-like objects there are in the game for Glinda, since I imagine she has a lot. She is she's a material girl and she's living in a material world. So she has lots of clothes and belongings, whereas Elphaba, I tried to decorate her side of the room with lots of plants, little bottles, tiny boxes, spell books, things of that nature. There's a big bookshelf that you can see back here. Pardon the fact that there's someone zooming past my apartment right now if you heard the revving of an engine. And anyway, so Elphaba's side of the room, I think I'd like to say that I did a good job of like sticking with one side of the room with decorating and then moving on to the other, but I'm pretty sure like as things popped up, I just sort of bounced around both sides. But everything's kind of sort of coming together now. You can see that I've got this cowplant poster that I felt like was sort of indicative of Elphaba's personality. She's a champion of the animals, and I have a feeling that she probably takes a lot of biology classes here at Shiz, a lot of like nature, botanical sort of classes, in addition to her sorcery studies with Madame Morrible. So I've also got a map behind the bed that I felt would be a good representation of like a map of Oz, as she perhaps researches the plight of the animals and what they're going through. Then I put this book over here that's supposed to represent the Grimory, and this moon petal from Werewolves, because in that promo image she has like several plants in bell jars, and we are lucky enough to have a few items in the game that are in bell jars and look pretty magical. So I used, I think, all of the ones I could find on Elphaba's side of the room. And you can see I'm like cluttering up the shelves with all kinds of like little bottles, gemstones, beakers, basically just anything I could find that I felt like represented her character and had like that whimsical vibe to it. She's got like some scrolls that I imagine could be like some old magical documents that she's maybe studying. We have this really cool, I guess it's not really new, it's from Growing Together, this little like lantern object that I have, and it ends up moving a few times because for some reason I could not get it to stay even when I saved the game. Here you can see I'm getting a ceiling, so it isn't just like that ugly white that we get by default. Thank God you can paint ceilings now. I know some people do creative stuff where they take rugs and turn them upside down and put them on the ceiling. I don't know if I'm quite ready to tackle that yet, but maybe one day. Here is Elphaba's desk nook, where I put in the leaves and some curtains. I put this bear club poster because I felt like maybe it was like an emblem of the animal rights group that I'm sure, if it exists, Elphaba is a member of. And then I put in some tapestries, and here I am cluttering up Glinda's desk, which of course she uses as a vanity, not so much for studying. Or at least in my mind, because I think that's hilarious. I'm sure that maybe once her and Elfie become friends, she might pick up the books a little more, but this, I think, is going to be representative of maybe earlier on in their relationship with one another, where she is very much Miss Glam Glam girly girl, and is just going to be getting ready all the time and not really focused on her studies as much as she does on her looks and her social life. And You can see I'm putting in some of the Crystal Creations jewelry boxes. We've got like this base game, I believe it is, trunk, and of course a shoe rack by the front door. I put some rugs around here to sort of separate their areas. And I don't remember if I end up putting one. Yeah, I do end up putting a pink rug by the front door because I'd like to imagine it's sort of Glinda's welcome mat from when she thought this room was only going to be hers before it was revealed that Elphaba was going to be her roommate. And then here you can see I'm playing around with what I'm going to put above Glinda's bed. I end up doing that big fancy floral painting from, it's probably base game, honestly. It could be from Get Famous. I thought about toying with maybe going into live mode and having someone paint a portrait of Glinda so she just has a picture of herself above the bed. These Sims, by the way, I will give information on them in the description, but they are an Ariana Grande and a Cynthia Erivo Sim that I got off of the gallery and then dressed up in more Wicked-inspired outfits just for the purposes of making promo footage for this build. But they are both beautiful Sims, look a lot like the actresses. And so it was fun to get to put them in this little fantasy world that I created for them. And you can see here that I'm actually getting into a lot of the fine-tuning of the cluttering of the build and adding all of the details. I still cannot believe how many pink boxes we have in the game, and I think I probably could have found more if I had a few more packs. Like, I think Dream Home Decorator has more like pink clothes and stuff that I could have hung in Glinda's section, but most of this is stuff that's either in debug or stuff that I was able to search for. Here you can see I used one of the gem books from Crystal Creations as like a spell book. This is one of the ones that kept disappearing on me, and I think I eventually had to replace it with a Realm of Magic spell book because I couldn't get it to stay with the alt placing. And I also had a hard time just like deciding what kind of lighting I was going to use because I wasn't sure if I was going to decide that they had electricity in Shiz or in Oz at this point in time or not. Of course, Wicked is like, I don't know, I guess you would call it like written by Gregory Maguire in the 90s, but I was trying to decide if they had electricity or not because The Wizard of Oz was written in 1900 or 1901. So if it's a prequel, and depending on how much you think Oz is like our world, I was like, you know, how much do they have in the way of electricity? I sort of decided that they probably do. It's just more like old-timey or like steampunk style, I guess, if that makes sense. But anyway, I did this cool thing, as you can see over here in Elphaba's little window nook, where I took some cauldron objects and I sized them down and rotated them with the tool mod to where they're sort of like stacked within one another, which I thought worked out really well. The Sims themselves still tried to make macaroni and cheese in it, which is kind of hilarious because you can see, if you look in one of the shots that I'll probably include for, you know, the storytelling to set up the video, there is like mac and cheese bubbling away in one of them, even though it's been sized down and is not like the proper size for using. But anyway, let me know in the comments below if you're excited for the Wicked movie. I know I certainly am. I was a little worried at first just because I am such a purist and I don't know why I was so stressed about it, but after seeing the trailer, I think it's in really good hands. I think it's going to be a good movie. I think it's going to have a cult following. Oh, here we go. Here is where I decided that we were going to have some cool overhead accents. I do this in a lot of my more fantasy builds where I put the spandrels across certain parts of the room. And here we go. We're putting in some drapery. I decided that they both have some curtains, but Glinda probably has more. I have a feeling that she tried to put as much pink as possible in as many corners of the room as she could, just to sort of put her stamp on it. So here I am doing just that. I'm putting Glinda's stamp on everything. I'm Glindifying the room. Putting in a few more little pink boxes, and then I kept playing around with what color I wanted the wood accents to be in the room, because this gothic sort of style spandrel I like a little better, but it doesn't really match any of the more gothic Victorian columns that we have in the game. So I ended up using these panels, but I think I ended up switching out the spandrels at one point in time. We'll find out when I upload it to the gallery. This has been play tested, and everything for the most part works. Obviously, they cannot sit in the window seats, but they can sit at both of their desks. They can sit and sleep in the beds. So all of that works. And of course, some of these items are toy boxes. So I guess if you really want to use this room and people to play with some toys, there are toys for you. Please enjoy them. And here I am kind of jumping around doing like the last of my decorating. I tried to just stack as many things on as many surfaces as I could, especially on Elphaba's side of the room. I'd like to imagine that she's so wrapped up in her studies that she's maybe not as organized, whereas Glinda is also a mess in her own way, but I think has like a little bit more of like an OCD sort of feeling to her. Here we go. This is what I actually got for the spandrels. These are from, I think, Strangerville. They could be from Base Game, but I want to say they're Strangerville. It's that Victorian house sort of style of thing. But you can see I'm putting in a few more things on the wall. We've got some herbs on the wall for Elphaba and a few more paintings and whatnot. But everything is coming together pretty well here. Here I am playing with that book again, and it will not work, and this lantern again. I think they do stay eventually after I played around with it enough. I essentially had to fill all of the slots that were available on that trunk object, which is actually a side table. And then I put in a few more plants, and I ended up putting like a tapestry on the wall here that I ended up changing out. It's not this one with the stars. It's another one that I felt like could be like the Shiz University tapestry that is provided by the school for all the dorm rooms to show a little school spirit. And I might have a little bit of footage of me decorating the outside just to make it look more like it's in a tower. And it was really mainly for just cinematic purposes, so I could film like intro video for this speed build. But otherwise, it's mainly like an interior sort of build. I don't know. It turned out really well. I had a lot of fun. I had some kind of stressful news this week that I won't bother you guys with, but it was nice to distract myself a little bit. Oh, here we go. Here's the outside. Just like some spandrels, I used the Castle Estate kit and then gave it like a cool roof that you eventually see in the promo. But thanks for watching, guys. Hope to catch you in the next one. Thanks so much.
Baldriga! Punil!
Chunky!
Red, you knew.